The discovery of a secret. The Galactic Council chamber was silent when the reports arrived. A massive holoscreen hovered in the center of the room, glowing with the image of a human ship darting across deep space. It moved in a way no one in the HFY Council expected. The ship did not crawl between the stars like before. It leapt. The alien leaders leaned forward, their eyes narrowing. For centuries, only a few ancient civilizations had mastered warp technology. It was rare, precious, and carefully guarded. Humanity was young compared to them. They were supposed to be slow, clumsy travelers of space, and yet here it was, a human vessel crossing impossible distances in a blink. "They shouldn't be able to do this," whispered High Scholar Trevak of the Valari. His voice trembled. "Warp travel takes centuries of study. It is impossible for them." But the recording was clear. The ship didn't just warp. It bent the lanes differently, in ways alien science could not explain. The council erupted, with noise. Some demanded answers. Others called for immediate investigation. Many accused humanity of theft. "They stole it," growled Admiral Varuk of the Creel Dominion, slamming his clawed hand against the table. "We kept warp technology, hidden for a reason. Now these humans flaunt it as if they invented it themselves, but not everyone agreed." The Oriath emissary, a race known for calm logic, shook her head slowly. "Stolen? From where? No vault was broken, no fleet reported intrusion, and yet they use it. So freely." The question spread like fire in the chamber. How did humans get warp technology? Meanwhile, far away on Earth, the truth was unfolding. The human ship in the recording, Artemis Voyager, had only weeks ago returned from a skirmish near the edge of Council space. Captain Elias Grant remembered the battle well, how their small fleet was cornered, outgunned, with no way to retreat. That was when it happened. A Creel warship, destroyed by its own unstable core, left behind twisted fragments of alien machinery. Most crews would have ignored the wreckage, fleeing for safety. But humans were different. Curiosity was in their nature. They collected the shards, pulling strange coils and fractured crystal cores into their cargo bays. When the Artemis Voyager limped back to Earth, scientists rushed to examine the debris. Engineers and technicians surrounded the fragments, sleepless, for nights. Some called it madness, others called it hope. But one thing was clear: humans would not rest until they understood the alien tech. And then, something incredible happened. Instead of simply copying what they found, the engineers changed it. They tore it apart, rebuilt it, and reimagined it using human materials, human logic, and human stubbornness. Where alien design was elegant but rigid, humanity's version was messy but flexible. They combined old nuclear systems with alien. Warp coils patched flaws with stubborn creativity, and in the end, they made it work. The first test was rough. The ship rattled violently. Alarms screamed, and half the crew thought they would die in a collapsing void. But then, silence. Outside the viewport, stars had shifted. They were not where they should have been. They had jumped. Humans had discovered warp travel, by accident and by force of will. Back in the council chamber, accusations grew louder. They must reveal the source. "Humans are dangerous. Demand their surrender." A new voice cut through the chaos. Counselor Dara of the Lumerian stood, her pale hands folded calmly. "Perhaps you do not understand," she said softly, her voice echoing. "Humans do not wait. They do not obey the rules we do. They adapt. If they hold warp travel now, they may not have stolen it. They may have built it." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. The idea was terrifying. Could a young species really have done what took others millennia? Admiral Varuk snarled. "Impossible. They are primitives with fragile bodies and short lives." But the holoscreen showed otherwise. The human ship leapt again, streaking across, space like lightning. Not stolen, not borrowed. Something else. Something new. And somewhere in the shadows of the chamber, fear began to grow. If humans could create warp drives from scraps in weeks, what would they do in centuries? The secret was out, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The hidden past. The truth of humanity's warp drive was not written in official records. It was hidden in sleepless nights, in the grease-stained hands of engineers, and in the daring choices of people who refused to accept defeat. On Earth, inside a dim underground lab in Nevada, the fragments from the destroyed Creel warship lay scattered across metal tables. Sparks crackled, welding torches hissed, and the air was heavy with the smell of burning alloys. Humanity had stumbled upon a puzzle, and puzzles demanded answers. Dr. Maya Ellison, chief engineer of the project, hadn't slept in 3 days. Her eyes burned as she leaned over a shard of alien crystal core, humming faintly with unstable energy. "This isn't just power storage," she whispered to her team. "It's a doorway. The aliens designed it to stabilize the fold between dimensions, but look." She pointed at the fractured lines inside the crystal. "It's flawed. They've been patching the same design for centuries. They made it safe, but weak." A young technician frowned. "So, what do we do with it?" Maya grinned, exhaustion replaced with fire. "We don't copy it. We make it ours." That was the key. Where alien science prized perfection and tradition, human minds thrived on mistakes. They turned errors into solutions, weakness into strength. They welded human nuclear drives into alien cores, used crude but strong alloys where aliens relied on fragile precision, and rewired entire systems with nothing but stubborn trial and error. The first prototype was ugly. Wires hung loose, panels rattled, and half the readings made no sense. But it lived. Captain Elias Grant was there the night of the first real test. He remembered the silence before launch, the way every heart in the room beat like a drum. "Engage," he ordered, voice steady though his hands trembled. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring. The crystal core howled with energy, threatening to tear itself apart. For a moment it seemed like everything would collapse. Then, with a sudden snap, the universe folded. Stars twisted outside the viewport, and in an instant, the ship reappeared, light years away. The crew gasped. Some cried, others laughed in disbelief. Humanity had jumped further than they had ever dreamed. News of the breakthrough spread fast, though not officially. Rumors reached the ears of Council spies who whispered of reckless human experiments. Files marked classified leaked into black markets. And yet, despite the secrecy, one truth could not be hidden. Humans were no longer bound by old limits. Back in the council chambers, debates turned into panic. How could they achieve this in weeks? They are unstable. If they can make warp drives so quickly, what else can they create? Contain them before it is too late. But not everyone feared. Some admired. A few alien scientists watching the recordings of human ships felt an unfamiliar spark. Envy. For all their centuries of knowledge, they had never thought to break tradition, never dared to twist science into something so raw and unpredictable. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Ellison and her team pushed further. They discovered that by intentionally stressing the crystal cores, something alien engineers would never dare, they could push the warp lanes to bend faster. Where alien ships moved cautiously, humans could leap recklessly, unpredictably. It was dangerous. It was unstable. And yet, it worked. The second test shocked even the most daring among them. Instead of just crossing one sector, the human prototype folded through two in a single burst. When the ship reappeared, its hull scarred and smoking, the crew staggered out wide-eyed but alive. They had done in days what alien civilizations had needed centuries to achieve. Elias Grant stood on the command deck, staring out at the stars. His voice was quiet but heavy with meaning. "They think we stole this, but no, we built it because we had no choice. When you corner humanity, we fight back. When you block us, we break through. That's who we are." Those words spread like wildfire among human fleets. Soldiers repeated them in mess halls. Scientists wrote them on lab walls. It became not just a project, but a movement. Humanity was no longer following the galaxy's rules. They were rewriting them. Back in council space, Admiral Veyruk studied the latest intelligence reports. He smashed his fist against the table, claws cutting deep grooves into the surface. "They will surpass us," he hissed. "If we do not stop them now, the humans will one day rule the stars." But another voice, calmer, answered him in the shadows of the chamber. "Perhaps," said Counselor Dara, "they were always meant to," and for the first time the galaxy began to fear not just what humans had built, but what they might build next. The first test the Council demanded proof. Rumors and reports were not enough. They wanted to see humanity's so-called warp drive with their own eyes. Many believed the humans were bluffing, exaggerating a simple engine trick. Others feared the truth but prayed it was impossible. So, under heavy pressure, humanity agreed. A demonstration was arranged. The site chosen was Arelon Station, a neutral orbital platform at the edge of Council space. Thousands of alien delegates gathered, their ships hovering in orbit, their eyes fixed on the human vessel prepared for testing. The air inside the Council viewing chamber was thick with tension. The ship chosen for the trial was not a mighty battleship but a mid-sized explorer, the Artemis Voyager. Its patched hull still bore the scars of past battles, its design far cruder than the elegant, polished lines of alien craft. To many of the Council, it looked like a child's toy compared to their masterpieces. But the humans walked aboard with calm determination. Captain Elias Grant stood tall in his Navy uniform, every step echoing across the steel deck. Dr. Maya Ellison joined him on the command bridge, her hands shaking only slightly as she held the activation codes for the prototype drive. In the chamber, above, alien leaders leaned forward. Some smirked, expecting failure. Others clenched their claws, fearing success. "Begin the test," the Oriath emissary's voice echoed across the comms. The Artemis Voyager moved away from the station, drifting into open space. Its engines hummed, lights flickering along its sides as the prototype warp core began to awaken. Inside the human ship, the crew held their breath. The warp crystals glowed a deep, unstable blue. The ship shuddered as energy surged through every wire and panel. For a moment, it seemed like the vessel would tear apart. "Stabilize it," Maya ordered, her voice calm but sharp. "Feed extra power through the auxiliary cores." The crew obeyed, sweat dripping from their foreheads. Sparks flew. Warning lights flashed. And then, the stars outside stretched into streaks of light. Space folded, twisted, and the Artemis Voyager vanished. Gasps filled the council chamber. Dozens of alien eyes widened. Delegates shouted over one another, "Impossible! They actually did it!" No species learns warp travel in decades, much less weeks. Moments later, alarms buzzed. The human ship had reappeared, far beyond the designated test zone. In mere seconds, it had crossed a distance that normally required hours of warp navigation. And it had not followed the usual warp lanes. Instead, it had carved its own path. This was not imitation. It was something new. The comms crackled. Captain Elias Grant's voice came through steady and calm. "Demonstration complete. Warp drive fully operational." The chamber fell into stunned silence. Then, chaos erupted. Some council members demanded immediate sanctions, claiming humanity had destabilized the balance of power. Others argued that this was a miracle, proof that innovation could come from even the youngest species. Admiral Veyruk of the Creel slammed his clawed hand against the arm of his chair. His voice thundered across the hall. "They have cheated. No species evolves this fast without theft. They must surrender their technology at once." But Counselor Dara, calm as ever, spoke with quiet authority. "Admiral, you are blind. What you saw was not stolen. It was invented. Do you not see the danger? Humanity is not ahead of us because of what they took. They are ahead because of how they think." The words cut deeper than any accusation. Around the chamber, alien leaders exchanged uneasy looks. Meanwhile, on the Artemis Voyager, the crew celebrated quietly. The drive had held together, even stronger than expected. Maya sat back in her chair, exhausted but smiling faintly. "We didn't just prove we could do it," she murmured. "We proved we could do it our way." Captain Grant nodded, his gaze fixed on the endless stars outside. He knew what the Council was thinking. He knew fear would grow from this moment, but he also knew humanity had taken its first undeniable step into power. As the human ship returned to the station, thousands of alien eyes watched in silence. Whispers spread like fire across the galaxy. Some spoke of opportunity, others of war, but no one doubted anymore the humans had warp travel, and not just warp travel. Theirs was faster, sharper, and more unpredictable than anything seen before. That unpredictability was what terrified the Council most. Aliens followed rules. Humans broke them. Aliens perfected systems slowly. Humans ripped them apart and rebuilt them in days. What else could they do? As the Artemis Voyager docked, Captain Grant stood tall at the airlock. He knew the questions would come, the demands, the threats. But he also knew something deeper. The galaxy had just seen the first flicker of what humanity could become. And somewhere, deep inside every alien leader watching, a single chilling thought took root. If humans could master warp travel in weeks, what might they discover tomorrow? The confrontation. The Artemis Voyager had barely returned from its test before the Council chambers exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices sharp with fear and rage. The demonstration had proven what many refused to believe. Humans had warp technology, and it was not stolen. It was something new. The Council chamber, carved from white, crystal and lit with glowing beams, shook with anger. Admiral Varuk of the Creel Dominion stood at the center, his armored frame towering over others. His claws scratched deep scars into the polished table as he roared, "This cannot be allowed. Humanity is reckless, they are unstable. If they wield warp travel, the galaxy will burn." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Some delegates nodded, others slammed their fists against their consoles. They should surrender the technology to the Council. Place Earth under sanction before they spread it further. Confiscate their fleets. But a smaller group resisted. The Oriath emissary, calm and logical, lifted her slender hand. "And if we demand they surrender it? Do you think humans will obey? You saw their test. Their drive does not follow our rules. It is unpredictable. Even if we seize one ship, can you be sure you will understand it?" Her words cut through the noise. For the first time, silence spread across the chamber. Then, Captain Elias Grant entered. The human delegation had been waiting outside, but now they stepped into the storm. Grant's eyes were steady, his posture firm. Behind him walked Dr. Maya Ellison and a small group of human officers, their uniforms simple compared to the ornate robes and armor of alien leaders. The chamber hushed, every gaze fixed on them. Admiral Varuk snarled, stepping forward. "Human, you will hand over the design of your warp drive immediately. You will dismantle every ship fitted with it, and you will submit to Council supervision. Refuse, and you will face consequences." Grant's jaw tightened. He let the silence stretch for a moment before speaking, his voice deep and calm. "We will not surrender." The chamber erupted again, shouts echoing like thunder. Varuk's claws clenched into fists. "Do you understand what you are saying? You are a young species. You cannot stand against us." Maya stepped forward, her voice sharp with defiance. "We did not ask for your permission. We did not steal your knowledge. We built this because we had no choice. When survival is at stake, humans do not wait for approval. We act." Counselor Dara of the Lumerians studied her closely, her glowing eyes thoughtful. "Tell me, Captain Grant, why resist? Why risk war with the Council when surrender could bring peace?" Grant turned to her, his expression cold but steady. "Because knowledge cannot be caged. If we give this up, we stop being human. You may not understand us, but we do not grow by obeying limits. We grow by breaking them." The words carried weight. Even those who hated humanity felt a chill, but Varuk would not yield. He slammed his fist on the table. "Then war it shall be. The Dominion will lead fleets to Earth. We will tear your ships apart before your dangerous chaos spreads." Gasps echoed. War with the Creel Dominion was no idle threat. It meant devastation. Grant did not flinch. Instead, he touched a small device on his wrist. The hollow screen in the chamber flickered to life. One by one, images of human ships appeared. Entire fleets orbiting Earth and Mars. Every ship now fitted with the new warp drives. A ripple of shock spread through the chamber. Some delegates leaned forward in disbelief. Others shrank back in fear. Grant's voice remained steady. "We are not helpless. You think we are fragile because we are young, but you underestimate how fast we adapt. While you debated, while you doubted, we prepared. Every fleet in our system now carries the warp drive. If you come for us, we will not run. We will meet you head on." Silence followed. Heavy, uneasy. Counselor Dara whispered, almost to herself. "They were ready. Before. We even called this meeting." Maya's voice joined, quiet but sharp. "We don't want war, but if you bring it to us, you will learn what humanity does when it has no choice." The chamber trembled with the weight of her words. For centuries, the Council had maintained balance by controlling technology. They believed they held power, because they held secrets. But humans had just broken that balance, not by stealing, but by creating. Admiral Varuk bared his teeth, but for the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. The sight of entire human fleets, unpredictable and untamed, made even him hesitate. The Oriath emissary spoke again, her voice calm but laced with unease. "You see now. To fight them is to ignite chaos. To leave them alone is to risk the unknown. Either way, humanity has changed everything." Grant looked around the chamber, his gaze sweeping across alien leaders. "We are not asking for your blessing. We are telling you the truth. Humanity has entered warp space, and nothing will stop us from moving forward." The words hung in the air, final and unshakable. In that moment, the galaxy shifted. Fear, awe, and uncertainty mixed together. For the first time in centuries, the Council realized their power was no longer absolute. And deep in the shadows of the chamber, someone whispered what all were thinking, but none dared to say aloud. If they could do this in weeks, what will they do in centuries? The revelation, the Council chamber was heavy with silence after Captain Grant's declaration. Alien leaders sat frozen, their eyes flickering between fear and disbelief. Humanity had not only revealed its new power, they had shown that they were already prepared for war, but the true revelation had not yet come. Dr. Maya Ellison stepped forward, her expression calm, her voice carrying across the crystalline hall. "You think our warp drive is our greatest achievement," she said softly. "But that is only the beginning. What you saw in our demonstration was an early version." Gasps rippled across the chamber. Even Captain Grant turned his head slightly toward her, his jaw tightening. She had kept this part secret, even from many of her own people. Maya pressed a small device on her wrist, and the holoscreen lit up. Again. This time the image was not of the Artemis Voyager. It was of a different ship, a massive silhouette emerging from Earth's orbit. Its hull gleamed with strange light, sections of alien crystal woven together with human steel. "This," Maya continued, "is the Aegis, our first ship designed fully around the new warp system. Not patched, not improvised, built from the ground up with human innovation and alien fragments combined." The chamber erupted with voices. "They've built a super ship. They hid more than we feared. This is a declaration of war." But Maya raised her hand. The noise fell silent. "You misunderstand," she said firmly. "We are not showing you a weapon. We are showing you what happens when humans are challenged. You guard knowledge for centuries. We turn it into something new in weeks. That is who we are." The Aegis began its demonstration. On the holoscreen, its engines flared. But instead of the unstable rattling from before, the ship moved with terrifying grace. Space folded, not along the usual warp lanes, but in jagged, unpredictable curves. One instant the ship hovered near Earth. The next it appeared above Saturn, then Jupiter. Then it was gone entirely, vanishing into deep space. A council delegate gasped. "Where did it go?" Seconds later, the Aegis reappeared above Erelon Station itself, hovering silently above the very council where its image was being broadcast. Every alien in the chamber turned their heads as shadows fell through the vast glass ceiling. The Aegis loomed outside, silent, watchful, untouchable. Fear swept the chamber like a cold wind. Captain Grant finally spoke, his voice low and commanding. You wanted proof. Here it is. Humanity does not only move through warp lanes, we carve our own. No boundaries, no limits. Admiral Veyruk, once so confident, now stared up at the ship with wide, trembling eyes. His voice cracked with rage and fear. This cannot be real. No one can bypass the lanes. That knowledge is forbidden. Maya's reply was sharp. Forbidden by whom? By those who feared change? By those who wanted to remain in power? You do not understand. Humans are not dangerous because we steal. We are dangerous because we imagine, we see barriers and we break them. The Oriath emissary leaned back slowly, her expression unreadable. You have done what no one has in thousands of years. You have not only learned warp, you have reinvented it. You have freed it. The words struck the chamber like a thunderclap. Reinvented. Freed. Humanity had taken the galaxy's most guarded secret and shattered its chains. Captain Grant's gaze swept across the hall. We do not seek conquest, we do not want to rule. But if you threaten us, you will find that humanity cannot be contained. Every attempt to cage us will only make us stronger. For a moment, no one dared to speak. The Council, once so certain of its control, was staring at the impossible. Finally, Councillor Dara rose, her glowing eyes fixed on the human delegation. Then the galaxy has changed, she whispered. Not by our will, but by yours. Captain Grant gave a single nod. Not by ours either, by necessity. We only did what humans always do. We survived. The Aegis outside shifted, its engines glowing brighter. In a blur of light, it folded space and vanished into the stars once more, leaving the Council in stunned silence. In that silence, one truth became undeniable. Humanity had arrived, not as imitators, not as thieves, but as creators. Their greatest weapon was not their ships or their drives or even their courage. It was their ability to take the impossible and make it real. And somewhere, across countless worlds, whispers spread, if they could change warp in weeks, what will they change next? The galaxy shivered with both fear and awe. For the first time, the future no longer belonged to the Council. It belonged to humanity.